Okay, so I have an idea. Thinking that I might, instead of just like complaining about random stuff that happened through the day, which I'll probably still do from time to time, thinking that maybe I will take a small company and do like a profile on the small company and just like what the different what they do and the problem that they address and work to fix and overcome. So one example or an example of this would be a company called CapShare. CapShare, CapShare. So the problem that they address, or that their tool addresses, they have a software tool, and it's a capital management tool. Meaning, with like a startup company, with a venture capital company, they have a wide range or a huge range of potential owners of the stock, potential owners of the company, but there's no like reliable, useful market for ownership of those companies. So it's not a case like Walmart or I don't know, whatever big company, GE, right? Where the stock is traded on a public exchange, NASDAQ, whatever, and there's so much of the stock traded every day that you know how much your stock is worth, but then also the company, if they want to, they can figure out who owns how much of the company and all of this stuff. There's a lot of the management of who owns the company and keeping track of who owns the company is done just by virtue of their how the company is bought and sold, or pieces of the company are bought and sold. The smaller company, that's not the case. That's not the way it works. The smaller company, you normally are going to have a much smaller number of investors, maybe up to 10 or 15. If it's a bigger startup, you're talking 10 or 15 million type of a startup. You may have even a couple hundred, but there are a lot more ownership issues that come up as a result of that. For example, if you have an owner of the company and the owner of the company takes cash out of the company, or one of the owners of the company takes cash out. So they say, so let's say at the end of a quarter, the end of the year, the company made $1 million profit. And so they say, okay, we're going to allocate this up, and nobody, just by virtue of that, none of the ownership percentages change. But they say, when they say we're going to divvy out this $1 million among the 10 different owners, they say if you want to leave it in the company, you can. And you can leave as much of it in the company as you want to. And these 10 owners, they're all equal owners, right? Well, you have one person that says, oh, I kind of need the cash, so I'm going to take my $100,000 and we're going to go. And you've got one person, or you got another 3 that say, well, I need a little bit of cash, but not the full 100 grand, so I'm going to take 40 grand out and leave 60. And then all the way down, and then you have one person that says, well, I don't need any cash, I'm going to leave it all. Well, that has completely rebalanced and changed who owns how much of the company. And there are ways to manage that through Excel or whatever spreadsheet, but they're very cumbersome and not easy to use. Well, you would have to like make it on your own if you didn't have another option. Some accounting software like QuickBooks does that in a very basic way. QuickBooks, however, all it does is say, oh, the company ownership changed. Tell us how much the company ownership changed and who owns how much. There's no like calculation that goes on within QuickBooks, from what I've experienced anyway. So it doesn't like say, in that scenario, it wouldn't say, oh, well, this person took $100,000 out of the company, so their ownership percentage went down by this much. It just would record that this person took $100,000 out, and then you need to do the calculation on your own and put it back into the system. So it gets kind of difficult to manage and not straightforward. Now, that problem then is magnified if you're talking about like a smaller venture capital firm, or even a mid-sized venture capital firm, where you've got 100 different investors that are investing in the venture capital firm. But those 100 different investors, the venture capital firm then has ownership in, say, 150 or 200 different companies. And individual investors can and will go to the venture capital firm and say, I don't really like this company. I'm not super jazzed about this. I prefer if my investment wasn't there. And so they'll move stuff around, and so then you can see when you're talking about managing 100 people's investment in 100 different companies, it becomes very, very complex. So that's where this company CapShare comes in, that they work with companies and they have a platform, a tool that's used by those companies to manage that. Another good example of where this would come in is with a law firm. Law firms are partnerships, or limited partnerships, professional limited liability corporations, depends. What that means is the senior members or the senior lawyers in the firm will all have partial ownership of the firm, and based on a number of different things, changes how much of the firm they own. So normally the person that's been in the firm the longest, the senior most member of the firm is going to have the most ownership percentage. But there could also be agreements where, okay, you finished this case, or you brought in this big client, so we're going to give you X amount of ownership, or whatever. And some big law firms could have 100 or 50 or 100 different partners, and the percentage ownership of the firm can change basically week to week. The reason that is a big issue especially with professional corporations like law firms, is a big part of the compensation for lawyers at that level, at a senior level, is an earnings cut. So it's a percentage of the income from the firm, or the firm generated during a period, is included in their income, in their bonus. And of course, the amount of the income that they get as a bonus or in their income is based on their ownership of the firm. So you can see, especially with like a lawyer, you want to be as accurate as possible. So having an automated tool like that offered by CapShare is extremely valuable. Now I've looked into the company. It's a Utah-based company. Actually read up and found out about the company because I was looking at a job posting they had. company based in Sandy, Utah, or Draper, Utah. And it's a fairly new startup in themselves. Looks like they've been up for a few years is all. But they look to be growing. They've got a few developers, they've got a number of other staff, and it looks like they're working on getting different roles kind of parsed out. And these companies are really exciting companies to work with or work for. They, a company like this is a real target for a bigger company as an acquisition, and that can mean a big payoff for those that are in the firm or are in the company. So it's a great, looks like a great company, a great opportunity. Their website had a real great design, real good design. It gave me a lot of hope. They don't have any, I didn't see any like demo of their software available online, but at least on the surface, it looks really good. And if their software tool is as easy to use or as intuitive as just their website is, then it's a good sign. It's a great sign. I'm really interested to see what comes of it. The job, I actually ended up applying for the position. And it's called an implementation specialist. Basically, be working with clients, be working on software testing, things like that. So, great opportunity. Looked like a great company. But yeah, we'll leave it there, and tomorrow on my drive home, I hopefully will have another company to talk about and profile on the way home. Thanks. Have a good night.